What's up, everybody? Justin here. I'm excited to do this show. Really excited. I had to write down a lot of notes for this show for these two guys that I'm going to be talking about and discussing and debating for both of them. I'm going to be defending both of them, talking about the good they've done for the wrestling business and wrestling industry. And I'm going to be talking about the bad that they did, creative-wise. A lot of bad ideas for characters and stuff they've done. Well, one guy is a lot more bad than what the other guy did. The other guy didn't do that much bad in wrestling. What am I talking about? This is a new episode of Who's Better. What is Who's Better? It's a show series I created. Again, it can go on forever and ever and ever until the end of time. Anyways, I could take two wrestling companies and say who's better, which one was better, or I could take two different wrestlers, women against women, men against men, and debate, in my opinion, who's better. And that's what I'm going to do right now, right here. I'm going to debate who's better, in my opinion, and I'll tell you who I think is better at the end. This episode of Who's Better, it's a big one. In my opinion, this is a big show. So anyways, because these two guys had huge personalities, huge personas, huge, one guy was not a character, really, at all. He was himself. He was a working man, son of a plumber. Maybe you know what I'm talking about, because I said son of a plumber. He was an American Dream. He was the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, against the other guy that was the ultimate heel character, probably greatest heel of all time. Greatest heel character of all time, probably in WWE history. Definitely was the most hated heel of all time by the fans. He got everybody, 20,000, 15,000 fans that chant asshole at him. The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes versus Vince McMahon. Who's better? I'm not talking about Mr. McMahon character against Dusty. I'm talking about Vince McMahon. What he's done with his company, the good and bad. And what Dusty has done. Inside the ring, Dusty Rhodes, all-time great, all-time legend. The guy was one of the greatest of all time. Deserves to be on a Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling greatest. But I'm not talking about really what they've done, who's better in the ring, because that's obvious. Dusty Rhodes was better than Vince. Now, Vince, the guy drew money. Mr. McMahon getting beat up drew money, major money, against Undertaker, not John Cena, what am I saying? Drew money with Undertaker, with Bret Hart, even though Bret and Vince kind of had a short feud going into WrestleMania 26, but it still drew money. Vince, Mr. McMahon against Shawn Michaels, Vince against Stone Cold. So Vince was not even close to being Dusty Rhodes in the ring, but he did draw money because fans would put their money down to see Vince as Mr. McMahon get the crap beat out of him. And a lot of times he did get the crap beat out of him. He gave the fans what they wanted. A lot of times he got beat up so bad he bled. And would bleed. And my God, remember when Vince jumped off the cage or flew off the cage at St. Valentine's Day Massacre for his company? He didn't have to take that bump. Is he like 54 years old at the time or something? Or he's 53 at the time, because right now he's 73. That was 20 years ago. So he was 53. He flew off of the cage, went, bounced off the announcer's table, and broke his damn tailbone. So Vince would, especially after 98, Vince would do anything for his company and take just about any risk and risk his own body. So, yeah. So now I'm going to talk about the bad. First, I'm going to talk about the bad that is attached to Vince McMahon forever. This is the bad, folks, and there's a lot of it. The bad. The WBF. God awful. Was a dumb ass, stupid idea. I know Vince thought there was money in it, I guess. He thought the WBF, World Bodybuilding Federation. That's what I thought of it. I hated it as a kid. I guess it started in 91, 92. And they had a pay-per-view. I don't know who the fuck would buy a bodybuilding pay-per-view. But I never would. I'm not interested in bodybuilding at all. And I'm not interested in seeing guys on a stage pose almost nude. There's nothing wrong with that if you're into it. Hell, I'm into watching wrestlers wrestle in their damn underwear. So maybe I shouldn't put down bodybuilding. Because, I don't know. Watching male wrestlers wrestle each other, that's just about as gay as watching bodybuilding, in my opinion. Whatever. I don't know what to say about that. Because I do love pro wrestling, but it's the whole package of pro wrestling. The storylines, the drama, the male soap opera, the storylines, the action. They're not just posing in a ring. They're actually wrestling and doing something. And I don't mean to offend anybody when I said the word gay. I'm not using it to be offensive. I was just trying to compare bodybuilding and wrestling. So Vince, WBF, I guess you thought it was a good idea because you started Ico Pro and you thought the fans would buy into it and make Ico Pro make you a billionaire or something. I don't know what you were thinking. You must have been on crack to think the WBF would be as big as the WWF, your company. No, it wouldn't, and thank God it went away. And it probably failed. And you probably lost a ton of money. And, God, Ico Pro is a bad idea, too. But not as bad as the WBF. More bad Vince has done. And these are basically business moves he's made that were just really bad and creative decisions. Lex Luger's 1993 push. You tried to push him like he was the new Hulk Hogan. You even got him a damn bus. You got him a tour bus. The Lex Express, to go around the country and do probably free autograph signings and stuff. Man, that was a bad idea. That was really bad. Vince McMahon trying to push Lex Luger as a top guy, as a top baby face of the company in 93. It didn't work. I will admit the body slam to Yokozuna on the USS Intrepid, that did work because it got a huge reaction. But so what? It only got a huge reaction because it's July 4th. And you were having a body slam challenge for anybody that could body slam Yokozuna. But Lex failed. His push was a failed experiment that did not work. He was never going to be Hulk Hogan. He was never going to be your top babyface. You had a top babyface. The guy's name was Bret the Hitman Hart. So obviously the Lex Luger babyface All-American push, Lex Express, was a failure. And it was really bad. It was such a failure the guy could not even win the WWF title. Now, I don't know. There's been stories that the whole locker room was going to quit if Lex won the title and not Bret. I don't know if that's true. So, Lex Luger's push in 93 was really bad. And I'm sure that was Vince's idea. Let's see what else is really bad. The XFL. The XFL. Bad idea. In 2001. I wonder how much money Vince lost with the XFL when it failed. I don't know how much he lost, but it's probably a ton. And now, Vince, you're lucky. You are a lucky son of a bitch. That now you're a billionaire and you can start the XFL all over again. I don't know if it's going to fail. I'm not going to predict it's going to fail. I don't know until I would see the product on the field. And I might not even watch it. I might just see highlights on Sports Center or something. And I don't know. And see how experts talk about the games. So the XFL is really bad. The games weren't, it was innovative. The NFL did steal the fly cam from above the field. It's like on a zip line and it goes back and forth. That was a great idea. That was innovative. And the other thing that was cool was you had no kickoffs, but that was a bad idea too. Because you had two guys running for the ball to try to get it, and they would get injured. XFL was just really bad because it only went one season. So the only thing good about the XFL was the camera work, and probably that player that was called He Hate Me. That's what everybody remembers. Other bad. 2003, Vince. You lost your damn mind. In 2003, you did some god-awful storylines, creative stuff. I'm sure it was your idea. It was shit. It was bad. It was embarrassing. It was just... had no business in wrestling. Had no business in your company doing what you did with Katie Vick. Katie Vick crap. Triple H crawls in a damn casket with a cane mask and fucks a dead corpse. I know it wasn't a real corpse. But so what? It was vile. It was embarrassing. I was embarrassed to be a wrestling fan seeing that Katie Vick garbage. That was probably the worst storyline in the history of the company. That's probably the worst, maybe not one of the worst things Vince ever did, but it's up there. It's like top 3. My opinion is top 3. Katie Vick. God, that was bad. And I don't care if you were in the Attitude Era still or Ruthless Aggression Era. Why in the fuck, Vince, would you think that was a good idea to put on Monday Night Raw? Let's have Triple H acting like he's having sex with a dead body in a casket in a funeral home. I still don't get it. Why would he think that's a good idea? That's insane. That's offensive as hell to me. That is offensive and disgusting and embarrassing. I don't want to see that ever on a wrestling show. I don't even want to see that in movies. And if you enjoy watching movies that are not real, but if you enjoy seeing movies where someone's having sex with a corpse, you are sick and you need help. Please get help. Katie Vick, one of the worst things ever that has happened in wrestling. One of. Another thing that's just god awful that you did, Vince, in 2003 that was really bad. I haven't even got to the good yet. And this show will probably be 40 minutes or more. But it was really bad. You had a feud with your own daughter. And you had a match with your daughter, Stephanie, on a pay-per-view. No Mercy 2003. I get it. It was a storyline. Vince was not hurting his daughter. But I didn't want to see it. I did not want to see that. A real father having a match with his daughter. What the fuck were you on, Vince? To me, my opinion, that was a bad idea. Vince beating up his own daughter on pay-per-view. I think even during the match, he started even choking her with a pipe or something. It was not good. That is just sick, Vince. That's like doing domestic violence against your own damn daughter on a pay-per-view. Even though you weren't hurting each other, it was still wrong. In my opinion, it was wrong. Shouldn't have done it at all. And the crowd, I think the crowd was damn uncomfortable watching it too, and they were probably in shock what Vince was doing to Stephanie. I was uncomfortable watching it. I didn't like it. It was not entertaining. It served no purpose. It was just wrong. It was just wrong. If you're a fan of the Howard Stern show, in the past he did a game show called It's Just Wrong. And Vince and Stephanie, it was just wrong. At least Howard Stern was doing it for entertainment. And It's Just Wrong was, to me, it was funny. It was sick humor, but it was funny to me. And it was just wrong, but it was funny on Howard Stern. It was just wrong. Vince, Stephanie, it was wrong. To me, it was like domestic violence on a pay-per-view against your own damn kid. So, other bad Vince did. This is probably number 1. Probably all-time worst thing he's ever done. Says the N-word. I believe at Survivor Series. It was 2006. He said the N-word backstage with he's side by side with John Cena. If I was Cena, I would have been like, I'm not being in this damn segment with you saying that. I'm offended by that word. I don't say it. And if white people say that on Twitter or YouTube or anywhere, shame on you. Stop saying it. You're an idiot. You have no right to say it. Anyways, that was offensive as hell. Vince using the N-word, even if his character did it and if he didn't mean it, it was wrong and he shouldn't have done it. It was really, really bad. Vince saying the N-word or joking with Cena. And then Booker T was standing there. Booker, I think, was probably angry and shocked. And I mean, Booker probably didn't speak out against it because Vince was his boss. What could Booker say? Like, Vince, I don't think you should say that, man. You're going to get a ton of heat. But Vince could say, I'm not saying it. Mr. McMahon is saying it. And it was just stupid. Mr. McMahon was trying to be cool with Cena, which Cena Vince is a white guy, if you didn't notice. Why would you say that's Cena? Like you were cool with him. I don't get it, and I still don't get it. Why he did it. Booker is probably offended and just shook his head like, what the fuck is wrong with Vince? What the fuck is he on? So that was bad. Vince saying the N-word in 2006. I don't care if he was joking. He was wrong. All I'm going to say about Vince is thank God you made Kofi WWE champion. Because if you never would have, a ton of fans could go back and say Vince is a damn racist. And if you feel that way, you can still feel that way. I'm not going to tell you how to feel. So, I got more bad that Vince did. So, I'm trying to look over. And I do have a lot of good that Vince did also. But here's more bad. And again, this show's going to run long, but it's because it's a who's better between two icons, two just iconic people that were in the business. Dusty Rhodes, an icon, and Vince McMahon. So other bad Vince did is not pushing. I shouldn't say not pushing. That wouldn't be true. Saying he's never pushed Asian talent because he has. He doesn't keep pushing them, and he kind of forgets about them and just, I don't know, he gives up on them or doesn't care what they do anymore. I don't know. But I don't trust Vince booking Asuka anymore. Hopefully Triple H is on the main roster. I don't know. But Vince really not pushing international talent. Not much at all. Not really much at all. The only international talent you have pushed are Canadians. That's it. Every other country and every other race you have not really pushed. Except The Rock and Kofi and Booker T, Mark Henry, international talent, British Bulldogs. You push them, but that was in the 80s when you were younger and smarter. So the other bad about Vince is he only pushes the guys he wants to push as main eventers. He only pushes main event talent that was created in the WWF or WWE. The only guys he has pushed as main eventers were not WWF, WWE guys to begin with, to start their careers. The only guys he's pushed that did not start in WWE or F were Chris Jericho and Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan and Hulkamania did not start and was not created in the WWF. It was not. Yeah, Hogan and Hulkamania was on a worldwide international level with the WWF, but it was created in the AWA. And I don't know, Vern Gagne claimed he created Hulkamania and started taking a ton of Hogan's merchandise money from him. Tried to take his Japan money from him. I don't know if Vern created Hulkamania. I doubt it. I think Hogan came up with it. Anyways. So my point is, he's only pushed the guys he wanted to push that were WWE guys that started there. Other than WWE guys, he has pushed Jericho. But, and I guess he pushed Booker T. But again, Booker was never WWE champion, and he should have been. Anyways, that's just not good. That Vince has never pushed guys to main event levels that did not start off in his company. It's not a good look. Also, what's bad is Vince, you put your damn family, you put your two kids on TV way too much. And you've been doing it, I mean, for over 20 years, but you keep doing it. Vince has been putting Stephanie and Shane on TV way too much, in my opinion, for the last 3 to 4 years. They've been on TV way too much. Way too much. You need to stop that, Vince. I mean, I get it. They're not as old as Vince. And they can be on TV to have a McMahon on TV. Whatever. They're on TV too much. You should have both of them off TV for at least 6 months or a year. Other bad, I mean. What was I going? Oh yeah, about Shane and Stephanie. Not only do you have them on TV too much, Vince, please stop having Shane kill himself. The guy's killing his body. The guy's killing himself. Please stop having him kill himself and taking all these crazy bumps. When Shane's 60, the guy probably will barely be able to move. Probably will need back surgery, hip replaced, everything. So now the good. Now let's get to the good that Vince McMahon has done. The good for wrestling. The good for whatever you want to call it. Sports entertainment. I call it wrestling because they wrestle in a damn ring. Vince always likes to say we're entertainment. We compete with all entertainment. No, you don't. Because when you go up against big sporting events, you get killed. You're not just entertainment. You're a damn wrestling show. If you were just entertainment, you wouldn't have a ring. Ever think of that? That makes no sense. Oh, we're entertainment. But you have a wrestling ring at every damn event you do. So you're a wrestling show and entertainment, in my opinion. But here's a good Vince has done. Not just for his company and the fans, but for the business, for the industry. Let's go back to the 80s. All the great tag teams Vince had in his company. All the great tag teams Vince had in the WWF in the 80s. He had a ton of them. I actually think Vince enjoyed tag team wrestling in the 80s. The shows he has created. Primetime Wrestling. Great show. Entertaining as hell. You could say Primetime Wrestling, you could watch it back on the network, and that show is a lot more entertaining, probably, than Monday Night Raw in 2019. They had a bit too many job matches with top guys beating jobbers, but so what? So Primetime Wrestling, Vince, it was such a good show because you let Gorilla and Bobby Heenan work without a script. Basically, they went off the top of their head and just talked and argued because they were such good friends. They had such great chemistry. That's what made Primetime Wrestling so damn good, was Gorilla Monsoon, the late great Gorilla Monsoon, and Bobby the Brain Heenan. Both of them, rest in peace, man. I have no clue if there's an afterlife, but if there is, I would love to see Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon and just shake their hand and say thank you for all the damn entertainment you gave me. And also, when they were on commentary, Vince, in the 80s and early 90s on pay-per-views, you let them just basically say whatever they want. You weren't yelling at them. I doubt it. I doubt you were yelling at them in the headphones. You just let them do and say what they want because you knew how good they were as a duo. Other good Vince did. The Stone Cold feud. The Mr. McMahon Stone Cold feud was so damn good. So damn entertaining. The Mr. McMahon character. It was really damn good. Again, probably one of the greatest heels in the WWE's history. Another thing Vince has done that was really good is bringing back a lot of wrestlers and a lot of talent that was pissed off at the company, but he brought them back. Vince did business. He did business with a lot of talent that talked a lot of shit against him and tried to put him out of business. Vince brought back Hogan, Hall, and Nash. They left. They almost put him out of business. Vince brought back Eric freaking Bischoff to work for him. And he hugged him. And Vince did it for business because it was best for business. And it was. That moment of Eric Bischoff coming out on Raw as the new GM, I will never forget that. That was one of the all-time most shocking moments on Raw history. Or in Raw history. Brought back, so many guys he's brought back and made up with. So many. Bret Hart, Hogan, Hall, and Nash. Rowdy Piper he brought back. Ric Flair he brought back, even though they never had heat. He brought back the Ultimate Warrior, like him or not. He brought him back. Well, actually, I think Triple H got Warrior in the Hall of Fame and talked to him, but Vince did, for some reason, Vince did love the Warrior and had a close relationship with him in the past before they met up with each other again in 2014. So, that you got to give Vince McMahon credit for just bringing back a lot of people that he probably didn't have to. He could have held a grudge against them, but he did not because he knew it was best for business. I'm sure Vince would bring back CM Punk, but that guy's never going to come back because he's a prick. I don't even think he'll want to come back for a Hall of Fame induction. But that's his prerogative. So, other good things Vince has done. God, so many. I got to get to Dusty really soon, but so many good things Vince has done. Signing Hulk Hogan, taking him away from the AWA, having Hulkamania as his top guy. And Hulkamania ran wild from late 83 until 93. Hulkamania probably built the WWF. And Vince and Hogan built it. They built the foundation, basically, for the company. So, all the toys, all the great marketing and merchandise that WWF put out and started putting it out in the 80s. Probably in early 80s, like 83, 84, started putting out a lot of t-shirts. And just a ton of merchandise to buy. Remember those foam fingers? Those Hogan foam fingers? I'm sure the WWF sold a ton of those. And just all the merchandise, all the great marketing. Vince is a marketing genius, in my opinion. And a merchandising genius. All the toys, the wrestling figures, the wrestling dolls, the wrestling buddies. I had a ton of them. I still have 3 of them. But I used to have the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase wrestling buddy. I still have Jake the Snake and Hogan and Warrior. They also created other wrestling buddies, the Macho King, the Legion of Doom. So many. Those wrestling buddies, man, when I first got them, I think it was the late 80s when I first got them. I was like 5 or 6 or 4 years old. I loved wrestling with those. I'd slam them, suplex them, body slam them, punch them, leg drop them, elbow drop them, jump off dressers in my room, jumping off dressers on top of them. Those wrestling buddies were iconic and probably a huge money maker. A huge money maker. So other good he did was having 4 big pay-per-views a year. 4 big pay-per-views a year in the 80s. Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series. And Vince McMahon, the guy did have a lot of help. Mostly from booking-wise to come up with finishes and creative names for pay-per-views or guys that helped him. Behind the scenes, Pat Patterson deserves a lot of credit. The guy created the Royal Rumble match. And Pat Patterson also created the Survivor Series, or came up with the idea, I think, of the Survivor Series. Maybe Vince did. I don't know. So, the Rock and Wrestling Connection. That was really good. Vince getting on MTV and getting Cyndi Lauper, stuff like that. All the t-shirts, all the wrestling shirts that sold like crazy in the 80s. Other good he did. All the wrestling figures, those sold like crazy. And I do believe it's Vince's idea to start selling, every type of merchandise. So, another just good things he did. Creating pay-per-views, or I don't know if he created them, but they were in his company. So, I don't know if he came up with all the names, but whatever. SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Hell in a Cell, King of the Ring, Elimination Chamber. Those are all great, great ideas. Great gimmick matches. a part of those pay-per-views. I mean, creating stars. The greatest Vince creation ever, character-wise, is The Undertaker. He created it. He created the Undertaker gimmick. And my God, he found the perfect guy to play the Undertaker. Mark Calloway. Was in WCW before he was the Undertaker as Mean Mark. He he created the Undertaker. He created Goldust. He created or helped or pushed Razor Ramon. When Scott Hall came up with Razor Ramon, he put him on TV and he pushed him like crazy. Vince pushed a lot of good talent, and this was a good thing. Vince pushed Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold, The Rock, all in their prime, and The Undertaker. And Mick Foley, Mankind. So now let's go to the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. I talked about Vince a long time. Let's go to some of the bad that the American Dream created. Now, he was a part of the head of creative. He was a booker for the NWA. He was probably a booker for Florida Championship Wrestling at one point. For the head of creative. And he also is a booker, I believe, at TNA for a short time. Or maybe over a year. He had his own company, Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling at one time. But basically in the 80s, Dusty Rhodes was making the Crockett's a ton of money for the NWA. A ton of money. I have a great DVD about the year 1987 where Dusty Rhodes is in it talking about all the money the NWA made at all the big events. He had it all written down in like a notebook. It was very entertaining to listen to. NWA made a lot of money with Dusty Rhodes' ideas and talent that he pushed. Or talent that he pushed big time and they got super over. I mean, a lot of the talent were already stars, but Dusty pushed a lot of them and made them bigger stars. Nikita Koloff was not really a star anywhere else. He became a big star in the NWA. Dusty really pushed him and even teamed up with him. Dusty even pushed Magnum TA. They were really close friends until Magnum TA got injured really bad in a car accident. So just a lot of good Dusty Rhodes did, starting and coming up with the name Starrcade. I believe he did come up with it. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But I'm going to give Dusty credit for the Starrcade name. He also came up with just great storylines with the Four Horsemen. Dusty against the Horsemen. Great stuff. Legendary stuff. Where the Horsemen beat him up outside and broke his arm with a bat. Just really good stuff. I mean, that just felt real. Like Dusty was... I mean, the fans bought it. Hook, line, and sinker. I mean, all the fans in the 80s really bought it. Fans were like on a different level in the 80s. They thought everything in the ring, every storyline, they thought it was all real. It was all real to them. It was real to me too, because I was a kid. But anyways, the real good Dusty's done the Starrcade name. Creating Starrcade, a big event for the NWA. Coming up with great storylines with the Four Horsemen. Coming up with the Great American Bash event. Coming up with the Halloween Havoc name. Coming up with Battle Bold and the Lethal Lottery. and just pushing great talent. Again, he booked. He booked for the NWA. He booked for WCW. Booked for TNA. Helped for WWE Creative. Really helped in NXT in the early days of NXT. I'm sure he was ahead of creative and stuff like that. I believe Dusty Rhodes was even part of the creative team in WWE's ECW for a short time. And he pushed so many talents that became big stars. He pushed Nikita Koloff, the Rock and Roll Express, Sting, Ronnie Garvin. And he did push himself, but so what? If I was in Dusty's position in the 80s, I probably would have pushed myself also. He didn't push himself that much because he lost to Ric Flair a lot. He didn't win at Starrcade 84 or 85. I don't believe he won. And he only defeated Ric Flair once in the 80s. Only once for the world title. His other world title wins were not against Flair. One of them was against Harley Race. And the third one is against, I think, Flair. So maybe defeated Flair twice for the world title. So what? Big deal. The Horsemen still got the better of Dusty. And he allowed it. And so what if he pushed himself? Maybe he did that because he was the most over damn babyface in the NWA, and he probably was. Until like 88 when Sting was there, and I'd say Sting was the most over. And Dusty saw Sting as a top guy, and he pushed him. He pushed the Road Warriors. He pushed the Midnight Express. Dusty Rhodes probably, to me, as a fan, this is Dusty's greatest creation. Dusty Rhodes created the War Games match. Fantastic. That is so good. That match, that gimmick match, so damn good. And Dusty Rhodes came up with it. One of the greatest gimmick matches of all time. For sure. So, now let's talk about, again, he did so much good. He came up with so many good pay-per-view event names, pushed so many good talents, booked so many good events, and gimmick matches, Buckhouse Stampede, stuff like that. Now let's talk about the little bit of bad that Dusty Rhodes did. Also, what was really good was Dusty Rhodes in ECW. I thought he was really good there. And he got super over. Now let's talk about some of the bad that Dusty did. And if you're going to be a booker for like well over 10, 15, 20 years, you're going to have some bad stuff that you created or tried to. So here's some of the bad. In 1991, Dusty, I believe, was the head of creative. I don't know if he was a booker, but he's the head of creative. In my opinion, these characters he pushed and brought to WCW did not work. This is the bad. Johnny B. Bad. Not a good character, just a Little Richard ripoff. Nothing against Mark Merrill. The guy was a really fine worker. But I hated the Johnny B. Bad gimmick. Really stupid. I don't hate it, but it's just really dumb. And I do believe Dusty came up with it. Also really bad in 1991, PN News. I believe Dusty came up with it. Wanted him to be like a fat... well, the guy couldn't help it. He's fat. He wanted him to be like a white rapper. It was bad. PN News. Yo, baby, yo, baby, yo. It was bad. Should have never pushed that guy. Thank God he was gone after like 92 started. Oh man. This also happened in 1991 under Dusty Rhodes. Heavy Metal Van Hammer. Not good. Really bad. It was 80s hairband gimmick. It was just lame. It was not with the times, especially in late 91. The guy looked like he's out of the 80s. And the 80s were over. That was just bad. Heavy Metal Van Hammer. The guy was a pretty bad worker. Not the worst I have ever seen. He was better than Virgil in the ring. And a few others, but the gimmick was shit. Also in 1991, Oz. Dusty, what were you thinking? Oz, played by Kevin Nash. Unbelievable gimmick. That was so bad. I can't believe Kevin Nash survived in wrestling after Oz. The great Oz. In the late 80s, Dusty, somehow, this was bad, but it wasn't his fault. He was given the gimmick. He was put in polka dots. That was really bad, but to defend him, he got it over. He got it over and was cheered big time. So 1991 was probably the worst year of Dusty Rhodes as a head of creative that he's ever had. But let's go to 1991 still. The Chamber of Horrors. God awful. Gimmick match. Bad. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure if it was Dusty's idea, but it might have been. I don't know though. 1993, the Shockmaster. Oh my goodness. The Shockmaster was so bad. Nothing against the guy playing Typhoon. Nothing against Fred. My God, that was a bad idea. The Shockmaster. First off, the gimmick was doomed from the start because he tripped and fell through the wall and his helmet fell off. Still is a really bad idea. Really bad idea. Let's spray paint a Star Wars Stormtrooper helmet and put glitter on it. And have him in a vest like he's a construction worker out of the Village People. What the fuck? I don't get what the hell the Shockmaster was supposed to be. That character is probably worse than Oz. Bad character. And Shockmaster barely appeared. Only appeared on like 2 pay-per-views or 3 maybe. 2 or 3 pay-per-views only. So that's the bad that Dusty did. So now, who's better? Dusty passed way too soon. But my God, he left such a great legacy for what he created and gave to the wrestling business. All the great pay-per-view names, all the talent he pushed. His feud with the Horsemen and coming up with war games. So much good. The good Dusty Rhodes did as a creative mind for wrestling outweighs the bad, for sure. He did a lot more good for wrestling. But who's better? It has to go to Vince McMahon. Because Vince McMahon has had the #1 wrestling company since the 80s. He's made the most money. Made more money in his company than I'm sure Dusty made for the NWA and WCW. So who's better, in my opinion, is Vince McMahon. Vince has done a lot more bad than Dusty did bad, but I'm just going by Vince. And all the money his companies has made, all the business decisions he's made, has made the guy a billionaire. So Vince, again, I'm not taking anything away from Dusty Rhodes. I love him to death. The guy's one of the all-time greats, one of my favorites, one of the greatest talkers of all time, and a damn good worker also. But I gotta say Vince is better because of all the success. He's had a lot of bad and a lot of failures, but he's had more success. All the WrestleManias, 36 of them, 30 or 35. What am I saying? Not 36. Or is it 30? I can't remember anymore. What the hell? 35, I believe. It's 35 WrestleManias and counting. Again, just look at all the competitors that went under. AWA went under. WCW went under. ECW went under. Thanks to bad money management by Paul Heyman, I believe, because ECW still had a lot of fans and were selling out a lot of their shows. They shouldn't have went under. And damn you, Paul Heyman. You should have hired a business manager, a money manager to help your company. I'm still pissed at Paul Heyman for trying to do it himself or just not telling anybody that he needed help. I don't know what his problem was. But Vince has done more good for wrestling, in my opinion, than Dusty. So Vince McMahon's better, in my opinion. What's your opinion? Who's better to you? Dusty Rhodes or Vince McMahon? Not in the ring. I'm talking about behind the scenes. Who's done more? In your opinion, who's done more? Who's better? Who was better for the business? Bye for now, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this long, in-depth. I went in depth. Not in depth, but I can't even say the right word. It had to go long because this was a big Who's Better episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you stuck along and watched it. Bye for now, everybody. Have a great Sunday night.